So y'all call it your I decide moment. I call it a quantum moment. And what this means to me is it's like there's a line in the sand and you can't go back. It's like there was before that moment and then the life that you live after that. I was not raised to feel my feelings. I was not raised through family or community to understand the personal development conversation. It wasn't common ground. It wasn't something I understood. I never dealt with my internal feelings, and when you push something down enough, eventually it's going to explode. And that's basically what happened for me.
Welcome to the I Decide Darlings podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Lisa. We are moms, wives, best friends, entrepreneurs, and authors of the book, I Decide, the happy little guide to living your best life. Pull up a chair, grab a glass of wine, and get ready to talk all things health, success, loss, money, family, and everything in between. These two besties won't leave anything off the table.
So get ready to laugh, cry, hear the tips, tools, and stories to give you the success you crave, the life you adore, and the future you deserve. You are listening to the I Decide podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the I Decide Darlings podcast. I am Erin Lopez.
And I'm Lisa Cox. Welcome. Hello, hello.
Hello. Okay, we have to document this because these are the fun things we're going to look back on. Guys, we are on baby watch, and Lisa is about to be a grandmother any day, any moment. So
Grandma Dolly coming to you. Can't wait. And we're on hurricane watch.
Yes.
We have to acknowledge that because our hearts are going out and our prayers to everybody that was in the wake of Helene and now in the path of Milton. And it's really a scary storm. So it would be wrong if we didn't mention that because our hearts are with Florida right now and just hoping that it isn't as scary as they're saying. So.
I know. Many, many, many prayers. We're hoping that it'll die down. But we couldn't have to mention all of those things. Well, so I have the honor and the pleasure of introducing our guest today, and then we are going to jump right in on the I Decide Darlings. All right. As a seasoned speaker who has taken the mic on NBC, the CW, and Fox, as well as many stages ranging from TEDx, Hay House, the American Heart Association, Lululemon, and many more, Suzanne Adams is creating a powerful ripple of inspiration and positivity, which we need right now. In addition to being a sought-after speaker, Suzanne is a best-selling author, transformational mentor, and the host of the Quantum Vibes podcast. She has impacted millions through her speaking, books, retreats, which I can't wait to ask about, events, and programs across the globe. Her TED Talk has garnered over, wait for it, 3.2 million views.
Woo!
Holy smokasitas. Suzanne is a thought leader in the field of personal development, energetics, and leadership, and is on a mission to help you get to your highest potential and attract your dreams. Suzanne Adams, you had me at hello. Welcome to the I Decide Darlings podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I love what you ladies are up to. And I can tell you that the I Decide moments are what creates so much positivity and so much transformation in this planet, in people's lives. And I'm so excited for this conversation.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, we love that. We hope so too. We love hearing all things I Decide. And we're going to get to that, Suzanne, but we want to hear, and we'd love to get to know you a little bit more and take us back to who Suzanne is, what you're doing, how you got to where you are, and all the good things that we would love to hear.
Absolutely. So I am a woman on a mission to help people create more fulfillment, more abundance, and to do so in a way that is in alignment with your unique soul blueprint, in alignment with your purpose, and in alignment with your mission. And I think this is a really powerful ingredient to fulfillment and abundance that the world doesn't teach you. And until now, we're shifting that and we're changing that.
Yes.
And so I used to live a life where I was trying to check boxes. I was trying to fit in a path that never had my name on it to begin with. And it worked for a little while. I would receive fulfillment through career achievements, through nightclubs, through the validation and opinions of others, through all types of things. And I got to a turning point in around 2013 where everything shifted. And I won't go into that because that is kind of my I decide moment, unless you want me to. And then I can go into it right now. But basically, what happened was I had an awakening. I had an awakening where I remembered my power and I heard my power for the very first time. And it shifted my entire life in the best of ways. And so 11 years later, here we are. I operate a thriving mission-based company, helping other leaders create more purpose, more fulfillment, more abundance. As you said, my TEDx is celebrating. Actually, this past week, we celebrated 3.3 million views.
Oh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. I'm helping other leaders land TEDx stages. I'm helping other leaders really deliver magnetic keynote talks. I'm helping other leaders create more purpose and passion in their own missions and their own regard. And it is the most fulfilling thing. I've recently got engaged. That was
another congratulations.
Thank you. And it's one of these things where I'm from Georgia originally, and I lived in Atlanta for the longest time. And once I started learning to follow my soul and hear the calling of my soul, it led me to write my first book. It led me to host my first in-person experience. It led me to go to other retreats and allow myself to connect with like-minded people and allow myself to heal and expand. And over the years, I've really developed a business around speaking your soul, around using your energy to manifest dreams. And honestly, I feel like I'm just getting started and having the time of my life.
Oh, that is amazing.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like so many people ignore that. When you were talking about awakening to your actual purpose and what your heart desires, I feel like so many people ignore it. Their whole life they're checking those boxes. So this is so beautiful. Well, okay. Tell us about that moment 11 years ago. What was that like?
I have so many questions.
Yeah, like the turning, like give it to us deep. How did that happen?
I will. Absolutely. So y'all call it your I decide moment. I call it a quantum moment. And what this means to me is it's like there's a line in the sand and you can't go back. It's like there was before that moment and then the life that you live after that. And so there, like you said in the beginning, there's many, but this one to me is the most pivotal. And what happened to me was I got to the space and place where I didn't even recognize who I was. And I had spent so many years being busy, and pushing down every uncomfortable feeling that ever came up in my body. I was not raised to feel my feelings. I was not raised through family or community to understand the personal development conversation. It just wasn't common ground. It wasn't something I understood. And so I never dealt with my internal feelings. And when you push something down enough, eventually it's going to explode. And that's basically what happened for me. And so I got to this space and place where nothing was working out for me the way that I wanted it to. I had this feeling inside of me that like, I knew there had to be more to life than what I was currently experiencing. It was like, what is the whole freaking point of this thing? Like, why am I breathing? Were the questions that I was asking. And I was asking them from a place of desperation and from a place of loneliness. And so what I began to do was I began to have a glass of wine every single day at 5 o'clock to quote unquote, take the edge off. And it wasn't ever an alcohol addiction. It wasn't anything like that. What it was a numbing, the same way that we numb on Netflix, the same way that we numb on scrolling on social media, the same way that I had numbed the years before being busy. So I didn't have to get still and feel. And I was every day, I would wait till 5 o'clock to have a glass of wine or two, whatever I needed to just like, okay, the edge is gone. And after a few months of that, I was sitting on the sofa and I was looking at the clock. I would literally like had this ritual. I would sit on the sofa and I'd wait till 5 o'clock because in my mind, it still felt normal if it was 5 o'clock. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the clock and it's 4:59, 4:59, 4:59, 10 minutes. God froze the clock for me. 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It is still 4:59. And like, it still brings emotion up when I tell this story, because it's like the clock was frozen for me to hear my soul. It's like I was being called into that next space, and I had to decide in that moment, was I going to listen or keep ignoring? And so in that moment, something erupted inside of me, and I heard my voice, I heard my power, I heard my soul saying, girl, what are you doing? There's so much more for you. What are you doing? And I fell to my knees and tears came streaming down. And I just looked up and said a prayer like, I'm not willing to live like this anymore, and I need help. And in that instance, it was a quantum moment. In that instance, it was an I decide moment. In that instance, everything changed in a blink. And instead of going to the kitchen to pour my glass of wine to numb and not feel, I went in the kitchen, I threw the wine away. I didn't drink for like a year or two at all. And what I did was I began to learn about my soul. I began to learn about quantum physics. I began to learn about energy, about frequency, about personal development, about intuition, all of these things, life purpose. How do we go our entire life and no one tells us our purpose? Like, why aren't we taught at a very young age to figure out it's your life purpose, what you're put on this earth to do? And all of the sudden, I started unlocking these feelings that I had been searching for all through my 20s in the places that I wasn't getting them. And it lit me up from the inside out. And I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't, because I had to face the darkest parts of me. And I really had to heal all the stuff that I had been pushing down for all of those years. But then slowly I began to shine so bright. Slowly I began to step into the role of teacher, leader, and mentor. And here we are 11 years later, like literally living the life of my dreams.
Oh, well, I appreciate your vulnerability. And I think like what hit me hearing your story is like surrender. I mean, you surrendered your life to the clock and the monotony and everything that was happening. But what were you doing in life? And I ask this because like we have so many listeners that maybe that's how you're feeling, and I loved in your TEDx talk, you talked about like on the outside, you looked great. On the outside, life was good, but on the inside, you were watching the clock, wanting more, but like, and again, to our parents' defense, I think we all grew up like that. Like that was their generation. Like we didn't really talk about our feelings. We knew to go to college, get a job. That was what we did. So is that kind of what you were doing? I mean, were you working at this? Obviously you were working because you're watching the clock.
Yeah. So I'm happy to answer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just think I love to be able to visualize, but for somebody listening that's thinking like, is that me? Like I'm in this job right now, but how is she doing this having this amazing career now? Like, how did you get from point A to point B?
Absolutely. So just to give a little context and background, I was a very successful consultant and sales representative in the medical device industry. I did things very early on, and in my early 20s, I got jobs that people tell me were impossible at my age to get with my level of experience. It was kind of a subconscious thing around certainty that I had it, and I was able to really build a powerful career. And so I was at a big Fortune 500 company, and that was hard to get, a role that was hard to get. And I was in the top 2-3% of sales. And so the reason I'm telling you that is because everything I did in my corporate job translated to the success of my company now. I learned things that I've used in leadership. I've learned a lot about corporate that's helped me as a motivational speaker to go into corporates and do sales trainings, to do leadership trainings, to do team building. There's a lot of things that I learned inside of my corporate career that I've been able to translate into success as an author, as a speaker, as a mentor, as a coach, as a retreat leader, all of these things. So when I got the hit about like, you're not in alignment in your life, the thing is, I was in alignment until I wasn't. And that's the thing about life purpose and soul mission is it's a constant evolution. And just because you're aligning with your life purpose, it doesn't mean you need to become a coach or go start your own company or do whatever it is. It's like what I teach about is really aligning with your unique soul blueprint. And that's what I did without being aware of what I was doing. And so the first year in 2014, was the year of me dedicated to like learning to love myself. And so I literally that year, I think I went on 14 or 15 retreats. It was wild because it was the one place where I felt seen and I felt like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I've been missing. And yes, by the way, like I have zero animosity toward my parents or community because you're right. It was like the way of the world at that time. Now it's a very different time and space and place. And we're all just doing the best we can with what we have. And so as I started meditating every single day. I've actually meditated every single day for over a decade, since May 11th of 2014. And that helped me to hear my soul. I started utilizing the quantum tools that I shared in my TEDx and that I write about in my book, Quantum Vibes. And I started doing those things very early. What I did not do was try to have everything figured out all at once. And so I first got the vision to write a book. And that's how I started my career. I did quit my corporate job prematurely because I was just like, I've awakened, I'm moving on. I shouldn't have done that because you know what I did do was I ended up going back because I realized like if I'm going to build a company, I have to have flow and abundance. And there's nothing sexy about, you know, booking clients because it has to work and you have to pay the bills. And so I did take a year off and I began to build this business, but then I realized like I've got to do something else in the meantime. And so I went back in more of a consultant role and I did a job that I knew I was very, very good at while building my company, while continuing to build my stage, while learning to be a magnetic speaker, while booking in other executive clients. And so I did this dance for a little while until I didn't need it anymore. And I think that was a big point of a big part of getting from point A to point B.
I love that. It's a journey.
You hit on so much there. One of the things that you said that really touched me, and when you were telling your story, I got full body chills. I just want you to know I really did, about the clock and everything. But when you said get still and feel, I love that. And I believe that with all my soul. I do that too. Also every day is get still and listen and really listen. And Erin and I are in health and wellness, and we have been for many, many years. And so some of the things that you're talking about, I feel like are also so important because when you're not in alignment, you're shoving stuff down like you spoke of, it comes out in bad health situations as well. It comes out in stress in the body and inflammation and all this other stuff. So what you're teaching and what you're coaching is not only good for their mindset and for their future self and their heart and their soul, it's good for their health. And I love that so much. Another thing. So working, this is huge. So I love that you shared that you went back while you were building this new life and this new business. You accepted the fact that you had to go back to have the abundance and the funds, like you said, to build it. That to me is huge because I've seen it in our industry. I've seen it so many times where people come to a realization, I don't love what I'm doing, and they quit. And then they don't exactly know how to get from A to B or have the money to do it. And then everything gets worse. And then when you're in a desperate situation, you don't produce or show up as your best self. And so everything kind of spirals from there. But I love that you actually inspired people by going back to build that fund. And I just think that's incredible. I think that's beautiful and a really important lesson in life. And so if our listeners are in this spot, you know, and they're feeling this angst of not living on purpose and not having their true abundant life that they feel like they should have, and they are in a job, what would be some of the, like maybe share some of the tools that you have for them in the book and in the TED Talk that you talk about? And then like, what would be the first step? Like, how do you encourage someone to be still and listen? And then what do you do first?
Absolutely. So I love this question. And I think the thing is like, these tools are simple. You don't need a PhD to be able to implement these tools and align with your soul and manifest your wildest dreams. It's honestly about understanding your mindset. It's about making choices that are in alignment with where you want to go and not where you've been. So I have this whole blueprint that I haven't exactly shared with the world very much yet, but it's called the Adams actualization model. And the reason I want to share it is because it is a tool. And so when you can see yourself that you're more than your name. You know, you're more than Lisa, you're more than Aaron, I'm more than Suzanne. It's like we have a soul inside of us. And I have this saying that's called arrows up. And what it means is it means your alignment arrows are pointed up into an infinite field of possibilities. Because what happens, let's say that you're in a job that you don't like and you're feeling like lackluster and you're like, gosh, I've got to do something else. Something else is calling me. But what's happening is your attention, your mind, your energy is focused on what's not working instead of being focused on where you want to go. And so in my book, Quantum Vibes, I teach you how to really tap into the frequency of the quantum field. And to really ground what the quantum field is it's an invisible field of energy where every dream that you've ever imagined existed. So let me give you an analogy. When I was a little girl, I had this forest in the back of my yard, and I used to go and they had this rusty red trampoline and these blonde curls, and I would just play on the trampoline, and I would have these like visions. And I had this journey of where I would always go to this imaginary button house. And inside of the button house, you walk in and there are just buttons all over the wall. They're all different shapes, all different sizes, all different colors. But each button represents a dream that is specific and dynamic to you. So as a little girl, I'd walk in the button house and it would be like a teddy bear or an ice cream cone or a unicorn or, you know, something that was on my mind as a little girl. But when I had my awakening and when I started teaching quantum manifestation, I realized that the quantum field is like our own button house. And when we can really start to visualize that anything is possible and that if we have a desire in our heart, it is meant to be for us, or the desire would not have made it into our conscious awareness. It's understanding how to plug your energy into the frequency of where you're going instead of into the frequency of what's not working, of what's been holding you back, of all of the things that are clouding you. And so it's really about using your energy intentionally. So for somebody who might be in a situation that they don't like, whether it's a job, whether it's they're not making the certain amount of money that they want to make in a certain way, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a health issue, it really doesn't matter because the energetics are the same. And so when the first step is to get really, really clear on where you want to go, how you desire to feel. And it doesn't even have to be specific. It could be like, I want to be in alignment with my unique soul blueprint, AKA my soul's purpose, my mission, my calling. It could be, I want to be in alignment with my own genius, which is kind of another way of saying that. It could be, I want to feel freedom. I want to feel openness. I want to feel magnetic. I want to feel seen in my full power. I want to feel appreciated. It could be something like that. And the visual, the arrows up visual is because instead of looking at, well, this person said this and it really triggered me. I wanted this amount of money and I got that. I wanted to speak here and share that story, but somebody else got that stage. Whatever it is, when you put your energy up into the infinite field of possibilities, you have a Wi-Fi signal that's coming off of your head. Like, it's true. We all have a frequency. We all have a Wi-Fi signal. And that's what I talk about in my TEDx. It's like, we have a frequency, we have energy. And so just the same as you get in the car and you change the dial on the tuner, if you don't like the song on the radio, you've got to learn how to change the dial in your energy and where your energy is going. So that's where I would say is start with getting really aware on what's the thought loops that you're talking about in your mind. Where's your intention? Where are you giving energy, and where are you fully holding your power? And how do you even want to feel?
I think you need to coin arrows up, because I mean, as soon as you said that, I was like, it's really genius. I mean, I say to our girls all the time, rise up, rise up, chin up. It's so visual, but I like arrows up. I don't know. I might need to say
trademark. I'm gonna show you the visual right here, so you can, because I know you said you were visual.
Yeah.
You see it?
Oh yeah. Beautiful. I love it.
Genius. So it's the Adams actualization activation, but it's all of the pieces of you. So you have your personality, which is that bottom arrow. You have your personality, your identity, your name. You have that middle piece of you, which represents your spirit, your soul. And then you have this higher piece of you, which represents the infinite possibilities, that love consciousness, like miracle energy that we all walk around with inside of us. And when you can align, I mean, obviously there's a lot of teaching in that one visual, but just as like a bird's eye view, when you can align those pieces of you, it's about aligning your personality with your soul. there's so much magnetism, there's so much abundance, there's so much power. But when you do that, you have to have 2 feet on the ground and be so grounded in where you're going, while also simultaneously having your alignment arrows up, your energy, intention, your frequency pointed into that infinite field of possibilities.
I love it. Suzanne, I have to ask, a couple of the tools, and your TEDx, by the way, it's amazing. I mean, we're going to put it in the show notes so people can go listen to it. But you talked about like turning up your frequency, setting powerful intentions, shifting your energy. I have to know, what does your day look like? I know that you're meditating, but like, give us, again, visualization. Like, what does Suzanne Adams do daily that's like non-negotiable? Like these are steps that you don't go to sleep at night before you've done certain things. Because I have a feeling there are some non-negotiables that you do.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because energy is contagious. And with turning up your frequency, that is quantum tool number 1 in my book, Quantum Vibes. It's turn up your frequency. So a lot of the stuff that I do is just second nature and natural to me now, because I've been doing it for 11 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to tell you kind of what I did in the early years and what I do now, because it's a little different. Because a big part of my work is about understanding how to reprogram and rewire your subconscious mind. Because I didn't know this. These are the things I was like mind blown when I figured this out. And again, I'm like, this should be in our school systems. Why don't we learn this? So our subconscious mind is what kind of runs the show, if you will, 90-ish% of the time. Studies say different things. And what that means is that you have a program. The same way that you have a program on a computer, you update the software. We've got to be updating our own software. And we can rewire and reprogram our neural pathways very easily. And one of my gifts is to explain this in very layman terms, which is a big part of my work. So in the beginning, when I first started meditating, I had to, because my intuition was opening. I was learning about energy and I didn't understand what was happening. But I knew when I sat still and I got quiet, everything shifted and I felt relaxed. And it was like, now we know it as like soothing your nervous system, but I didn't know that. It was about meditating. And it started as a 30-day challenge for me. And then after 30 days, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. Let's do another 30. And then after 90 days, I did another 30. So then after 90 days, I'm going to try a whole year. So that first year I was meditating like 10, 15, 20 minutes in the morning, again in the afternoon, plus anything I could do around mindset up leveling. So what that means is reading books, listening to podcasts, putting myself in spaces and places. I'm a big in-person event person, because I believe that you can reprogram and rewire your mind like that. Like when I host my Sedona Vortex immersion in 4 days, we literally can do 3-4 years of rewiring and healing and expansion in 4 days, because you're immersing yourself. So I did a lot of that as a client. And then as I started doing that as a mentor, I'm still in the room for the breakthrough. Like every program I teach, every retreat I lead, I'm in the room because I'm doing it as well. I'm still doing it. So in the beginning, it was a grounded meditation. It was turning up my frequency, meaning who's around me that's not empowering me. And how am I allowing that to happen? What boundaries do I need to set? Where do I need to clean up my energy? So in my TEDx talk, I talk about, you walk into the room and it feels open and it's great. It's high energy. And then on the other hand, sometimes you're like, whoa, like, does it feel good? Let's get out of here. It's like you have to become like, it's like you're cleaning your aura, you're cleaning your energy by who you're around. Now, I have not watched the news in 15 years. This was something I got before my I Decide movement. I would turn on the news and I was like, oh my God, everything they're saying is just like negative, so negative. I can't even, and I turned it off. That was something I did. I still don't watch news, but nowadays you can get it, you hear everything on the internet so fast. But for me, it's not in alignment to watch the news. Looking at being in nature is a big thing for me. Getting barefoot on the grass or on the sand, depending where you live, like finding something that has that earth grounding frequency and putting your skin on it. Sunshine, literally, I feel like the world has like demonized the sun, and there's so many powerful benefits of getting the sun in your actual eyes and in your skin. And so again, unique soul blueprint, we have to figure out what works for each of us. And so it's like anything else. Like, if we all want to be in our optimal health, we're not all going to have the same foods that we eat, and the same exercise program. You've got to figure out your best path with your own energy, with your own intuition, with your own mission, with your own purpose, and figure out what works for you. But you've got to stick with it, just like anything else.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. I want to come to Sedona.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aaron, we need to go do this. I believe every word that you speak. I fully feel like so many people need you and need this process. And what we've done with our career is we've encouraged people to also be in person for the events and to be around other people with a good energy. But I love the intention of all this, that you could also bring that into your everyday life at home. Yes. And that you have to do it for yourself. Like no one else is going to do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. And I love that so much, because I do feel like so often in life, and I don't mean to talk about something negative, but so often in life, you get to go to something like that, or you get to feel the energy that just comes off of you today, Suzanne, just listening to you. But then you go out into the real world, and then you've got negative people around you. You've got to be so intentional about getting rid of that around you. And Aaron and I actually talk about circle of influence in our book as well, because we completely agree with that. And something I said, I think on the last podcast, is I really didn't allow myself to make some of those intentional decisions to better my energy around me until I was a little bit older, until I was in my 50s, because that's when I really was strong enough. I was always kind of a people pleaser, Lisa. That was kind of how I was. And so I love that. I love the idea of being so intentional to protect your soul and protect your dreams and your energy around you. I just think it's so good. Oh my gosh. What's the hardest thing that you come against? Is it people's own self negativity, or other people around them? Or when you get people together, what are the blocks, that you have to help them get through?
Yes. So I'll actually start by answering my own blocks and what I had to do, and also what I help people with. But before I do that, I want to speak to what you just said for just a moment, because there's a thing around, the good energy and the bad energy. And I'm saying this because this was something that I did in the beginning. When I learned this, it was like, I would almost hide from bad energy, like bad energy, you stay over there, I'm over here, you get over there where you belong, kind of thing, and hide from the bad energy. And what I realized is the actual power is being able to walk amongst the low vibe energy without plugging into it, and without making it your dominant vibration. Because we do live in a world where there's dense energy, and we do live in a world where everyone's not going to be our biggest cheerleaders on the street, and we're going to have triggers, and we're going to have things come up. And true mastery is actually when you can come to the Sedona vortex immersion and be in all the vibrations and all the high vibes, and walk out and be able to hold that frequency no matter what is happening. And that's how you're going to really manifest your wild dreams, because no one else is going to influence you, because you've developed the muscle. You've built the muscle memory. And so that's something that we have to be aware of, because it's easy when we can say, okay, now we've identified the quote unquote bad energy, but can we up level our own frequency, turn up the dial on our own frequency, and not be affected? And that's where the true mastery comes in.
And don't you think too, it's acknowledging. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who probably can't even recognize or acknowledge that there's so much bad energy or people around you. I mean, I think even the first step is, I think for me too, it was almost getting to the point, again, kind of like Lisa, I was a little bit older, but even realizing this isn't healthy, these people aren't helping me get to my next level. So I love what you're saying. And I also think too, even allowing people, or actually being able to own it yourself, that acknowledging that, okay, this isn't maybe good. So now what do I do? And that's where somebody like you comes in. I mean, we're coming to Sedona is all I know right now.
We're going to have so much fun. And, I say that this is the space and place that you go if you're tired of being one of the most powerful people in the room, because I attract powerful leaders, and together we all expand. We have the best time. So yes, to you ladies coming, I would love that. And I want to answer Lisa's question. So about the mind or the blocks. And for me, for my own blocks, it's not, I want to put a caveat here. We don't want to look for the blocks necessarily. And I think in this personal development conversation, sometimes that's what we do, because it's like in the beginning, you clear the blocks, but then you're like looking for the blocks. But when you're looking for the blocks, you find what you're looking for. So you find more blocks. Now, it doesn't mean you're still not going to have blocks, but what we want to do is say, what's the hurdle? What is it that's in the way? What is it that needs to be rearranged or switched? Because sometimes it's a little subtle tweak that opens the floodgates. So I was actually having a conversation with my fiance, and I said something recently, and I said, it's a mental battle every single day. And what I meant by that is we have a voice in our head. So in my book, Girl Awakened, I don't know if y'all know anything about that book, but it's a fictional book, and it's written with the intention to shift consciousness in a fun and magical way. It's loosely based on my own awakening. And in that book, Samantha, the main character, she's constantly like running from the demon brigade. And the demon brigade represents our ego. It represents the voice of doubt that you have in your mind. It represents all of the naysayers around you. And that's the mental battle that we all have internally every single day, some more than others. And so for me, my way to the path that I'm living now has been, it's arrows up. That's the whole thing. That's how I've gotten here, is I've been able to say, okay, I hear that voice of doubt. I hear you. Oops, ooh, this one's strong. This one is very strong. Because what happens is the voice of doubt tries to talk you out of your dreams. The voice of doubt tries to tell you that you're not good enough. The voice of doubt tries to say, who do you think you are? You look at you, Miss Chris, you better turn around and go back to where you were. But your alignment arrows will take you into the space of infinite possibilities. And so when we can really create awareness around the voice of doubt and understand that it's going to be there. It's never going to go away. In fact, I believe that we're on the stairway to heaven on earth, and there's a new peak every level. And at the new peak, it's almost like you have to be willing to look at all the stuff again. And so it's this roller coaster of not allowing the negative lies that are in your head, the voice of doubt, or anybody else that tells you something that is not your truth, and not allowing it to sway you. So for me, that has been the biggest thing, is understanding there's going to be a mental battle at every next level. It doesn't mean it's a fight. That's why we have the tools. That's why we can meditate. That's why we put our arrows up. That's why we surround ourselves in beautiful spaces with beautiful people that are cheering us on. Now, when it comes to the issues that I see other people have, most people don't believe that they can create the dreams in their heart. It's like, I had this vision, and I know I've meant to speak on stage, but I've been sitting with this vision for 5 years or 10 years or 3 years or whatever it is, because I don't think anyone wants to hear my story. Yeah. Or, maybe let's say somebody was really successful in corporate, kind of like I was before I started this company. And they're like, I don't know how I'm ever going to make the money doing this personal brand thing that I made in corporate. And so it's like, what happens is we have these ideas where we're playing in the field of logic. And what I mean by the field of logic, it's like what seems predictable, what seems like realistic. And I do not like the word realistic, by the way. And most people are following by the rules of systems that we didn't create. So kind of another piece of this Adams actualization model is that bottom arrow represents this third dimension that we live on, that we breathe in. It represents this. When I say systems, what do you think? Like, what comes to your mind?
When I think of systems, I think of like systems with my work.
Yeah,
I think of structures, things that are laid out that we know that we follow, and how we train and things like that.
Okay. Duplication, all of that. Like, tell me what to do.
Systems tell me what to do. So if you think about the school system, or you think about the government, or you think about rules, tell me what to do, exactly what you just said. And that's where people try to play by, because that's how we've all been conditioned. It's like, these are the rules, you stay within these parameters. But that's not the way to quantum vibrations or quantum success or your ultimate fulfillment. The way is like, okay, how can I think outside of the box? How can I begin to play in a field of what feels exciting and what feels possible, and what like no one's even ever written the path for, because maybe it's never been done, or maybe it has been done and I need to find people that have done it so that I can rewire and reprogram my own mind with possibility. So it's like the old story of the 4-minute mile. I don't know if y'all know this story, but for years everybody was trying to break the 4-minute mile and no one could do it. And then finally somebody broke it, but then the next day another person broke it. And then 2 days later, 3 other people broke it because they were shown possibility. And so it's like when we can start to play in that field of possibility and like, what if it works? The game changes, and believing in ourselves at the same time.
Oh gosh, you are so successful at what you do, meaning like the words coming out of your mouth and success. Do you know how many teenagers and young adults need to hear this? I mean, this is game-changing information for young adults that are going to change the world, because like what you're giving, what you've talked about today and the tools, like it's life-changing. It really is. And I don't think enough people talk about it. So every time listening to you talk, I was like, oh my gosh, like I know so many young girls who need to hear this so they can start. Gosh, I wish I would have, when I was their age. I'm sure the three of us feel the same way. So everything you're saying today, I was like, gosh, I hope she's like reaching the teens and the young adults in this, because they're our future, and to have this mentality is something we're not taught.
Well, and I just want to know, okay, you're newly engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does he deal with you? I mean, you're a lot. And I mean, you're like, you've got this powerful mind and mindset and energy. And is he like parallel with you on all this? Is he like high energy, intentional, just like you?
So I almost want to cry, like the best tears when you ask this question. This is like such a powerful manifestation for me. Whew, I did not see this coming, because I desired, in the early years, I desired a man that supports me the way my man supports me now. Like I desire this so deeply. And when I met Bryce, my fiance, he blew me away at the way he loved my work at the very early. So we've been together about 2 years, and my book came out about 2 years ago, Quantum Vibes. And he came with me to my book signing. I mean, we had only been dating like a month, and it was a book launch party. And he came over to my house and he said, what can I do to help? And there was so much stuff. Like I was going to have somebody come help me. And he goes, I got it. He loaded up all the books. He loaded up the sign. He went, we'd only been dating a month. Okay. He sat in the back of the room while I gave my talk, held a powerful space, and just was beaming with pride. After the event, he came and he said, I'm going to get in the car. I'm taking you to dinner. And I said, it's just a few blocks. He said, you're in heels. You just delivered an amazing talk. You're not walking anywhere. He put me in the car, drove me 3 blocks to dinner. And ever since, he has been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest rock. Like he loves the events, everything that I'm doing. He's like, he wants to be a part of it, like not in a, in a partnership way. And it's so beautiful. And in fact, we just recently around my birthday in August, he was asking me like my best parts of the year, and we were kind of reflecting on the year. And I asked him what were his favorite parts about the year with me. And he said, honestly, seeing you at your events and getting to be a part of that and seeing all the lives that you touch and transform, like you blow me away every single time.
Which is so sexy, right? So
yeah.
sexy. Powerful women are tough to handle. And for him to say that, like, I can imagine you sitting there doing the event, you see that powerful man in the back of the room, and you're like, oof, that's a hard one to let go.
He holds a beautiful space. And you know what, though? Like, I think we can rewrite the story, too, that powerful women are hard to handle, because we're also very soft, and we also have an open heart, and we also give so much, and I will say, I do say I hold so much and he holds me. And that is the truth. And there is a dynamic, and it's very important in relationships that we see what dynamics that we need and that support us. And I could absolutely have a man, that's also a speaker, that's doing other things, and that could work too. And Bryce, he has his own big dreams, and it's just really cool to blend our dreams and see what we're going to create together. And it feels really special to be held in this way. So yes.
Oh, it is so special. When are you going to get married? What's the wedding date?
Yeah, we just got engaged. We don't live together yet, so he's going to be coming.
I'm nosy. I need details.
We don't have the details yet. So.
Okay.
You're embracing the new. You're embracing the new.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, where in Southern California are you?
I live. So first of all, when was it? February of 2019. I had some speaking engagements near the Laguna Beach area, and I was visiting Laguna Beach, and I had another I decide moment when I walked out. I was going to breakfast, and I walked out in front of this cafe, and I looked across the street, and I saw the ocean, and it was the sapphire blue, and the sun was dancing like fairies on the ocean. All of a sudden, whoop, like it was like lightning struck inside of my body in the best of ways, and my soul said, "You're supposed to live here."
Aww.
And I had no intention of moving. Everything I knew was in Atlanta, Georgia, and that I could not shake it. And so a couple months later, I ended up coming back to Laguna Beach and trying on the city for a couple of weeks. And then just a month or two after that, I booked a one-way ticket, rented out my house in Atlanta, and got 3 suitcases, shipped my car across the country, and never looked back. So I lived in Laguna Beach in this really, if you go on my Instagram, you can probably see some of the beach house views, but it was so serendipitous, so synchronistic. I ended up finding this floor to ceiling ocean view right on one of these beautiful coves. It felt like Europe. I lived there for 4 years. And recently another synchronistic thing brought me to this beautiful home that I purchased and renovated. And it's just like everything just keeps getting richer and better. And I'm very happy here.
That's amazing. That's where I grew up, is Laguna Beach. So I'm
fun.
I grew up on the hill, and I went to Top of the World School, was my school up there. And
what a small world. I love it here. Yes.
Yeah, I know why you love it there. It is truly an amazing place. It really is. But so where are the best places that our audience can like sign up for your retreat in Sedona and find you on Instagram? Give us some of that. We're going to put this all in the show notes, but
yes,
we'd love to know how they can find you.
The Sedona Vortex Immersion. Oh my gosh, ladies, you really have to come. I'm so excited. This is a 4-day immersion for leaders, for trailblazers, for entrepreneurs, for heart-centered leaders that want to connect with community, that want to transcend any doubts or beliefs holding you back to get to your next level, that want to understand more of what we've talked about in this episode at a higher level. You want to turn the dial up on your frequency. Maybe you're feeling called to speak, really aligning with your unique soul blueprint. It is literally 4 of my favorite days of the year. And it's at this beautiful 5-star luxury resort nestled in the middle of the Red Rocks. So to find that Sedona Vortex, I can give you the link. They can go to my website, SuzanneAdamsInc.com. Also, you can simply DM me on Instagram. The handle is Suzanne Adams Inc. It's SUZANNEADAMSINC. Podcast as well, where I actually read my book Quantum Vibes audibly on season 1 of the Quantum Vibes podcast. And I'm always on social media. I have another event that I host annually called the Quantum Success Leadership Summit. It's a little bit different, but there's all kinds of things happening in my world. And I think Instagram is the best place to find them.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been just a wonderful time to learn about you and about your quantum vibes. Everyone needs to get that book. They need to hop on your podcast and do all the things, because it's just a beautiful thing that you're teaching and coaching. And I love it. And I feel better because of it and this time with you today. So thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And this has just been, I love these conversations, and it just feels like such an honor to be able to have this conversation and spend this time with y'all. And thank you to everyone listening. It truly means so much to me.
Oh, well, it has been our honor. And I cannot wait to hear more about Adam's actualization, because I think you're really onto something with that too. So it has been an honor to have you, Suzanne. Make sure you check out the show notes. This was mind-blowing. There were so many things that I think you need to go back and rewind and hear it again today. And hopefully you guys will share this out. Thank you, as always, for joining us on the I Decide Darlings podcast. And we will see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the I Decide Darlings podcast. If this podcast touched your heart, please share it with your friends and family right after you subscribe yourself.
Don't forget to head over to iDecideBook.com and grab a copy of our favorite book and daily journal. As always, thank you for being here, and we can't wait for you to hear our next episode.